Hey friends, Frankie and Brad here in the kitchen cooking up some music for you today. We're going to chat a little bit about left-handed guitarists that were legends in our day. We can't think of a lot, unfortunately, so you guys out there help us out. We dug diligently to think of some of the heavy hitters that were left-handed, and we came up with a few, and I'm going to start off with somebody that I discovered as a very young kid. I went to see a movie with Annette and Frankie Avalon, Annette Funicello, called Beach Party, and there was this guy playing in a bar up on a loft in the middle of the movie named Dick Dale, and he did a song called Swingin' and Surfin'. I couldn't believe it. This guy was amazing, and come to find out, he was a left-handed guitar player that stringed his guitar upside down. He had saw the guitar sheets like we buy in the stores that show where to put your little fingers on the frets, and I had the same issue when I was little. I thought the way you look at them, it looks like, you know, the bottom string should be the bass string and vice versa, so he just stringed his guitar upside down and learned how to play the chords the way they were in the books, upside down. And he was famous for hitting that bass string doing this, and he if you watch the movie the Tarantino movie Pulp Fiction, that's Dick Dale playing all that music, and he was an amazing musician. And a tidbit I gotta remember, Dick Dale was given his first and only guitar by none other than Leo Fender. Dick Dale used to play in bars, and he played extremely loud for the day, and he actually taught Jimi Hendrix licks, but Dick Dale was having major issues blowing up these 50-watt Fender amps, and he contacted Leo Fender, and he told Leo Fender, you need to build a 100-watt amp, and Leo Fender was hesitant, and Dick Dale kept pestering him, going by his shop, bitching, and finally Leo Fender said, let me see what you're talking about. So he come to one of Dick Dale's shows, and Dick Dale literally smoked an amp on stage while Leo Fender was watching. And Leo Fender told Dick Dale, I see what you mean. I'll make a 100-watt amp. And somewhere in this time frame, he give Dick Dale a Fender Stratocaster that's this unique shade of green. And Dick Dale, being the person he was, immediately went inside of it, hot rodded it, took out a lot of the volume knobs, and where he didn't replace volume knobs, he just went by the hardware store and bought some of these nickel looking plugs that you stick in electrical boxes, and he just popped those in the hole of the guitar. And he said before he died, I've never only had but one guitar. I've never played but just this one. I don't own but one guitar. How many people do you know that can say that?
He may be the only one.
The only one, you know. We're going to move on to somebody that we both admire, and Brad and I was talking today, you know, some of the videos we've made recently, this guy's name's come up a lot, and that's Paul McCartney.
Yeah, Paul McCartney, probably one of the most prolific songwriters. There's probably not an instrument that he can't play. If you go back and listen to the Beatles' Taxman, that's McCartney playing the lead guitar solo. Band on the Run, where his band, only one member showed up, Denny Lane. That album is literally Paul McCartney, Denny Lane, and Linda McCartney. So McCartney is playing pretty much 98% of everything on that album. He is a musician's musician. He
yes,
can
true.
play anything.
I actually read and I don't know that this is fact. I assume it probably is, but I heard that Paul McCartney stringed his normal instrument left-handed, but he could pick up a right-handed string guitar and play it too. He could play either way.
It wouldn't surprise me at all.
That he could play the guitar string left-handed or right, but
like I say, he is probably one of the greatest bass players on earth.
yes, that's true.
And he can also finger pick an acoustic guitar like nobody's business.
He is literally a one-man show. There's nothing that that he can't do and do well.
And do very well, yeah.
We're going to move on to Tommy Iommi of Black Sabbath, left-handed guitarist. That how many albums was he on? The first 2 or 3? Black Sabbath.
He's been on all their albums.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I think the only member that wasn't on every album, of course, Ozzy, and I think the drummer has had some health issues later, and so Tony Iommi, when Ozzy died, they declared Black Sabbath the first real heavy metal, but I argue with that. The group Blue Cheer came out a few years before them. I think they were a heavier.
Yeah, they did Summertime Blues.
Yes.
And then Frigid Pink. When did they come out with that House of the Rising
They were in
Sun?
the early 70s.
They were another
But
early.
Tony Iommi, I'm going to say he was a good guitar player. He pretty much was their sound. Black Sabbath had their own sound. Like it or not, he was very creative with that sound.
That's a good point, Brad. That I have never thought about. But all the guitar players after that played with Iommi or it played with Ozzy tended to duplicate what I call that chainsaw, the Judas Priest,
Right.
Downstrokes. Iommi was one of the forerunners of doing that style of guitar playing that is pretty much accepted heavy metal style today.
Right.
The downstroke rather than the up and down is which gives you carpal tunnel syndrome. We're going to move on to a name that most everybody knows, Jimi Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix. You know what? If someone asked me, I've never heard Jimi Hendrix, what should I listen to? I would tell them probably the Bob Dylan song.
All Along the Watchtower.
All on the Watchtower. It seems like Jimmy pulled out all his tricks for that song. People know, if you know Hendrix, you know that he was a very good lead guitar player. But I tell people that he had a gift for his rhythm, that he could do some really strange and complicated things playing rhythm, which he does in that song All on the Watchtower. If you listen to his lead solo, at the very end of it, he breaks into this really nice rhythm that really actually adds to the song, and it actually added to that solo.
I remember I was 16, 1968, in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, riding down the road with a friend in a 396 Camaro, brand new, and we were listening to the folk songs of the day, like Donovan and Dylan and Simon and Garfunkel. And the guy driving the car, George Polanski, he said, you got to hear this guy. And he pops in Jimi Hendrix, Are You Experienced? Now, I am 16. I've cut my teeth on Dylan and Simon and Garfunkel and Donovan, and he's throwing in this shit that is like
From another planet.
Another planet, literally. And I was first, a little bit blown away, but by the time it got to Hey Joe and Purple Haze, I was like, hey, this ain't bad. And I at that moment embraced hard rock music, and I had been a folk fan forever. Since the days of Elvis and Buddy Holly, I went to folk music. But Hendrix was one of those guys that brought me into rock. Jimmy Page being probably
Right.
the next major innovator. But
Now, back in the day, he appeared on Johnny Carson. And to me, that was one of the greatest performances I've ever
I did
seen.
not see that.
Hendrix played on Johnny Carson. He did a 3-4 minute song, and he did all the tricks behind his back, played with his teeth. I mean, if you ever get a chance to watch that, look it up and watch it.
I'm going to have to do that. Well, we're going to move on to Elliot Easton of the Cars.
The Cars. You know what? The Cars had their own niche, their own sound, and Elliot Easton was the icing on the cake. Just a really good guitar player who knew how to add that extra spice to really make it jump.
Oh, rhythm, people that can play good rhythm guitar, I know I'm one of the few that often overlook them, but this guy had the licks. He was one of those guys like, oh God, the guy with the Rolling Stones, Keith Richards. Keith Richards got some crazy licks, but the Cars were unique, and they were a huge band. Rick Ocasek being the front guy.
Now, when the Cars were not performing, when they weren't broken up, but they weren't doing anything, Todd Rundgren came around, got Elliot Easton and Rick Hawks, the keyboard player. Todd Rundgren got his bass player from Utopia, and they got the drummer from another band. I'm trying to remember who they were. But anyway, they put out a CD called The New Cars, in which Rundgren, I think, had written 3 new songs they could record for the album. But most of the album was live. They did a few shows and recorded it, and it's actually really good. I mean, I was surprised at how good Rundgren sounded playing all these car songs.
And Elliot Easton, as so many good guitar players, they're overlooked by a popular lead singer.
Now, Elliot Easton, when the Cars weren't performing, he was playing with Creedence Clearwater Revisited, which was the bass and the drummer from Creedence, with Elliot Easton and a singer who I'm not familiar with. I've not heard, but I have read it. They put on great shows, playing all those old
It's amazing.
CCR songs.
We're going to move on to an older musician that pretty much was around in my younger days, Albert King.
Albert King, old Chicago blues player, played a left-handed flying V, was
A Bigsby on it.
I liked Albert King because he had more of that electric blues sound like Gary Moore used to play. He was very good, and just a good musician to listen to if you like blues.
There's a great documentary that was done years back with Stevie Ray Vaughan playing with Albert King, giving the nod to one of his heroes, and Stevie Ray was, to say the least, was holding back a lot, but he definitely let Albert be the star, and they did a session together that I think it was on BBC, but it's out there if you're interested in watching
check it out. It's worth watching.
Last, we're going to talk about a left-handed guitar player that wasn't really what we would call a lead guitarist by no means, but he was popular, and he's probably known by the younger crowd as well as us baby boomers, and that would be Kurt Cobain.
Kurt Cobain, the grunge sound. I mean, he was on the ground floor of that. I'm not a big fan of the grunge sound. Smells Like Teen Spirit was a huge hit for them, and I'll say he was good at their sound.
Yeah.
At writing songs for their sound.
He could pen some good stuff.
But he was not the player that these other guys were talking about.
Not even close. We thought we would mention Kurt Cobain because
he was.
A lot of people do consider him when they talk about left-handed guitarist. He's one of the first names that pop up. But as always, guys out there, let us know people we've missed, because I'll be honest, we just hadn't been real gifted at thinking of a whole lot of people.
There's not a lot of left-handed guitarists
in the rock and roll agenda that we listen to, which is a little more on the heavy side, but help us out. And as always, we really appreciate you watching us. Give us a couple of thumbs up and consider subscribing to our site. And as always, thank you very much. Have a great day.